Welcome to the Carriker Chronicles, the People Show. Checking the pulse of Husker Nation, brought to you by DPS Concrete Construction. Check them out at dpsconstruction.net. Also, carrikerchronicles.com. It's where all your Husker sports hopes and dreams will come true. It's just science, ladies and gentlemen. Today's show is about Matt RHULE, the Huskers. Who are we? Who are they? What is our identity? They need to figure out who they are as a team, as a program. I know what Matt RHULE wants, but who are they? We're in year 2. Clearly it can be done in a year or 2 or less. Clearly it can be done at a high-profile school or at a school that isn't as known for football like Indiana. Okay, I talked about that yesterday on my gut reaction. I just think Matt RHULE and the Huskers need to figure out who they are as a team, what their identity is as a team, and who the heck are they on offense, and even just within the run game when we do run the football. I'm going to get into all that today, and I'm going to do some X's and O's. I don't do that very often on this show for this one simple reason. There's so many different ways to run the same frickin' play. There's so many options. Are you in 10 personnel, 11 personnel, 12 personnel? Is the defense in 3-4, 3-3-5, 4-2, 4-3? Are they blitzing? Is it goal line, short yardage? You can literally run the same play so many different times based on all those factors. Now, it gets simpler. Like if you're an offensive lineman, power's probably power, depending on if they're blitzing, and you're going to knock the 3-tech back and then go second level. If you're the tackle, you're going to pull the backside guard, all those things. But it does change a lot with the other positions and the options. I'm excited to do this. And frankly, I do want to start doing it more. And obviously, I played a lot of defense in the league. All right, I played in a 3-4 defense in DC. I started as a left end to right end. I was actually the backup nose guard. Started at D tackle and nickel and dime. In St. Louis, we were a 4-3. 3-4 in DC, 4-3 in St. Louis. I started at left end, right end, 3 technique or D tackle and nose guard. So I was all over the place. And every year I've been coaching my son's offense. And for 6 years, I've called the plays. Okay? And I didn't even play defense until I was a senior in high school because I was a quarterback all the way through high school. So I've seen a lot of different things. I'm excited about this. I'm looking forward to it. Now, let's be real. All right, Husker fans deserve better than what happened in Bloomington. But even though Husker fans deserve better than what happened in Bloomington, and hopefully the Huskers get better going forward, if you're like me and you bleed Husker red no matter what, then smash that like button. As always, if you haven't done so yet, make sure you subscribe and ring that notification bell so you don't miss any of the stuff we're putting out here on the Carriker Chronicles. You never know what surprise interview might happen. You never know what new stuff we might do. All right, if you missed my gut reaction on Saturday, go back and check it out. This week, Ohio State coming up. I'm just going to be real. On Tuesday's show, Thursday, I'm putting out my next shows. I got a couple of fun guests for Thursday, but Tuesday, I'm going to talk about how the standard at Nebraska needs to be raised. It needs to be higher, the standard of expectations, but I'll get to that on Tuesday. I want to get to the X's and O's, so I might talk a little bit fast, even faster than normal. Is that possible? But before I do, Indiana scored 28 points off Nebraska's turnovers. They were the first opponents of the season to score any points off of Husker turnovers this year. Just final button thoughts on the Indiana game, then we'll move forward. Freshman linebacker Vincent Shavers and junior fullback Barrett Leibentrit, made their first career starts in Saturday's game. Nebraska's game captains were quarterback Heinrich Harburg, I wonder if that means anything, guard Henry Latufsky, Tommy Hill, defensive lineman Ty Robinson, and Thomas Fedoni caught 6 passes for 91 yards, career highs in both categories. His previous highs were 4 receptions against Northern Illinois in 2023 and 46 receiving yards earlier this season against Illinois. Now, who is Nebraska football? What is our identity, okay? For a long time, we were blue-collar, in-your-face, smash-mouth football, power football, physical defense. Then we tried, after doing that for a long time, we tried the West Coast thing, all right? Then we tried spread read option with a priority on the defense. Then I'm not sure what we did for about a 3-year span there, with all due respect. And then we were supposed to be up-tempo, fast offense, and that never really happened. Now, Matt RHULE, he wants to be blue-collar and physical and smash-mouth, okay? At Temple, they had a fullback, and they were power football, smash-mouth football, and that's what they did on offense. At Baylor, even though they spread them out, it was still a lot of power football, so to speak, just from a more spread-out type formation. All right, Marcus Satterfield wants to throw the football. Even when our first drive started at the 1-yard line, all right, with a true freshman at quarterback, 5 of our first 6 plays on Saturday versus Indiana were passes. In our first 6 games, we ran the ball 52% of the time, and we threw it 48% of the time, which seems like a balanced offense, right? It just doesn't appear that way to me. It appears to me, it comes across to me like we don't exactly know who we are, and we're trying to figure that out and just kind of trying different things. And maybe, just maybe, there's a little discrepancy on the inside of some of these coaches and how they're individually built as coaches and what they want to do collectively, especially when it comes to play calling. On a side note, when's the last time? It was interesting, Marcus Satterfield, offensive coordinator, coached the quarterbacks last year, and I know Matt RHULE wanted him to coach the tight ends from day one that he got here at Nebraska, but when's the last time you saw an offensive coordinator taken away from coaching the quarterbacks? I don't know if that's good or bad. I just hadn't seen it before, thought it was interesting. All right, now versus Indiana, Nebraska threw the ball 46 times, that's 61% of their play calls, and ran it 29 times, that's 39% of their play calls were run plays. Now, the fact that the defense couldn't get a stop may have factored into this, but let me ask you a question. If the defense is having a hard time getting the other team off the field and the other team's having an explosive offense, wouldn't that be even more motivation to try to run the ball, control the clock, keep them off the field, and move the chains that way? Now, in fairness, we've only averaged 2.4 yards per carry in our last 2 games. 2.4 exactly versus Rutgers, 2.4 yards per carry exactly versus Indiana in each of our last 2 games. Again, I say, who are we and what's our identity? All right, because that's what you tend to be good at. Whoever you are, if you're a 3-point shooter, you're gonna be good at shooting threes. Maybe not so great down low, Steph Curry, but you can shoot threes. You get my point? Shaquille O'Neal, dominate the paint, allergic to free throws. I digress. I wasn't that much better. I was a career like 60% free throw shooter when they did pass me the ball. Anyways, I digress. Here's my thought. Right now, we can't exactly lean on anything at the moment. Sometimes, not always, but when you try to do everything, you don't become good at any particular thing. Now, the one thing I have noticed, and it seems pretty predictable, but it's the one thing I could say is our identity, and I talked about this yesterday. Anytime it's 4th and short, 4th and goal, 4th and whatever, Dante Dowdell's in at running back, it's power right. And you know why I bring that up again? Because it hasn't been stopped yet this year. It's predictable. I can call it out, but we know we're gonna do it. They know we're gonna do it. Dante fumbled on Saturday versus Indiana. He wasn't stopped. He had the first down. It hasn't been stopped yet, and it's the one thing that I know I can trust that we're gonna do on offense in a particular situation. We need something like that to hang our hat on as a team. Look at Michigan under Jim Harbaugh. I know, Steingate, all that stuff. But here's what they were. Blue collar, physical, in your face, smash mouth. They were gonna put 18 tight ends on the field, and 17 of them were gonna be offensive linemen, and they were gonna run power right, power left, in your face, up your keister, down your throat. Against Penn State last year, they didn't throw the ball once up in Happy Valley in the second half. They had a first-round draft pick at quarterback, and his stats aren't even that great because they knew who they were and they ran the ball. By the way, most people don't know J.J. McCarthy was actually hurt in the second half versus Penn State, which is why they just ran the ball, and Penn State couldn't stop him. And they also played good defense up there in Michigan. Iowa, our good buddies, almost no offense, okay? Great defense, special teams, win close games, don't beat ourselves. That's their identity, and it's worked for them. So you go back years to Steve Spurrier and the Gators, okay? I bet Florida would kill to have Steve Spurrier as their coach again. Or Mike Leach, who coached at Mississippi State, Washington State, Texas Tech. That's Pullman, that's Lubbock, Pullman, Washington, Lubbock, Texas, Starkville, Mississippi. No disrespect, but nobody's gonna recruit well to those places, and they won. They threw the ball like 100 times a game and ran it once a decade, and they all won at those schools. There's various ways to win. Who are you and what are you gonna do? What is your identity? Frank Beamer at Vautech, Beamer ball, special teams. By the way, Virginia Tech has not been the same since Frank Beamer left. There's different ways to win football games, but you have to know who you are. Here's what I thought we'd be this year. I thought we'd be a really good defensive team that would run the ball, bring along a young, talented quarterback. To me, we're a team that isn't consistently good at really any of those things at the moment. We actually instead try to rely on the younger starter we have more often than not to carry the team. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Okay. Not only is it unclear if we're a run or pass team, when we run the ball, I'm not sure exactly what type of a run team we are, and that's what I'm going to get into right after this. I want to get into that, but I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, DPS Concrete Constructions. Ladies and gentlemen, you need retaining wall work done. You need concrete work done, especially if you're in the Omaha metro area. These are the folks to get it done for you. Check them out at dpsconstruction.net. If this is your line of work, this is the type of work you do. Jason Armstrong, phenomenal boss. Go to dpsconstruction.net, tell them Adam sent you, and go work for a great company and a great boss. All right, Bonzel Pool and Spa. First off, shout out their hot tubs. They did our family's pool. They did our hot tub as well. It's phenomenal. The kids love getting in it. I love getting in it. Obviously, they have pools and spas. If you have a pool, a spa, a hot tub, and you need work done, go to bonzelpool.com. That's bonzelpool.com. Tell Jeff Bonzel that Adam sent you. Because you got to find a way to have fun and enjoy life despite what's going on. We're going to play this clip, this throwback clip of Iowa football in tan pants. All right, ladies and gentlemen, what did you see when you watched that? Go back and watch that again, and hopefully this time you see Iowa football players with pants on. Let's move on now, all right? So here's this tweet from @Skurs News. Follow them on X. RHULE moves to 2-22 versus ranked team in his career. He has to realize he can't keep doing the same thing and expecting different results. I thought that made some sense. And I don't want to look ahead to the Ohio State game too early, and don't sneer or laugh or punch me through the internet when I say this, but Nebraska has an opportunity to earn respect this week that they lost last last Saturday. Just a look ahead to a couple of shows I'll be doing later this week. Now, Matt RHULE, after the game, didn't see this coming, he said. He thought we were going to play well. He thought we were going to play great. I'm not going to lie. That honestly doesn't make me feel better, while I appreciate his honesty. Okay. He said, I'm embarrassed of the job that I did. I got to do better next week and the weeks going forward. I didn't see any quit in the guys, though. He wasn't embarrassed of the guys on the team. I'm curious after watching the film if he feels the same way about effort, etc. That was certainly not good enough by any stretch, and for that I'm sorry. He said a lot of RPO plays, they attacked us in man with a lot of cracked screens when talking about Indiana. And I am going to briefly talk about Heinrich Haarberg here in a minute, but here's why I bring him up. And I actually put this down in notes to make sure I got it right. The reason I bring up using Haarberg is because we aren't able to run the ball, and having a quarterback that can throw and run would be a good dimension and a wrinkle to throw to other defenses. Haarberg is a weapon unlike anything else we have on our offense. Dillon is a good, true freshman quarterback, but it's not like he's winning the Heisman Trophy this season particularly, at least not at the moment. Also, if we can't kick field goals, we have to go for it on 4th and short a lot. Using Haarberg just makes sense. All right, let's get into some of these plays. And even Matt RHULE said after halftime of the Indiana game, he said that, and I'm going to paraphrase, he said, we need to figure out who Nebraska football is, and I agree. I will say this, personally, I'm not a fan of the little outside passes and swing passes, which we seem to run a little bit more often than I would like on offense, because they don't attack the defense. They can be a wrinkle, not so much a priority. So you can run a million different plays, okay, on offense. Let's just start with a zone play. Zone right. All right, so to my right. So a generic rule for the offensive line is head up to play side. All right, head up to play side. So if it's zone right, he doesn't care about this end. He's going to go and try to hook this will linebacker inside. Head up to play side is this nose. He's going to try to get his head across and hook the nose inside. This center is uncovered. He's probably going to go second level because this Mike linebacker is head up to play side to the side of the zone play and try to hook him inside. His job is to hook the 3 technique. All right, the tackle may ignore the 3 technique and go straight second level, or he may, if he's an experienced guy, bang this 3 technique, which by the way is difficult to deal with, and then he may go second level to whoever is there, whether it's the strong safety who comes down on the box. You got 2 safety high here. Okay, so maybe he goes and looks for someone else. This tight end is going to try to pin that end, and then the running back is heading outside. But a lot of zone run plays are big off the cutback. So let's say, all right, this nose doesn't get cut off and he penetrates his gap. Let's say this 3 technique penetrates the gap. Let's say the end holds a 6 technique. By the way, head up the center is a 0, in the A gap is a 1, head up the guard is a 2 technique, in this gap is a 3, head up the tackle is a 4 technique, in this gap is a 5, head up the tight end is a 6. If you get way out here, it's called a wide 9. Let's say these guys don't get knocked back, they don't lose gap integrity, which is really hard to do, honestly. He's heading outside. So that's where he's heading. But he is taught if one of these guys gets out of their gap, and this, you can run a wide zone too. A wide zone, and I practiced against this every day in DC with Mike Shanahan. He didn't care about being physical one iota, but his teams led the league in rushing a lot, whether it be at Denver or in DC. The 4 years I was there, we led the league in rushing 3 times. And that was before Robert got there. We had Donovan McNabb. That guy wasn't running. It's an effective run game when you just try to crease the defense and hit a cutback lane. So if he's heading here, and let's say this 3 technique gets overtaken, he's going to cut back into this gap. Or let's say the 3 technique stays in his gap and he has good gap integrity, but the nose gets overtaken. As everybody's running, they would talk about running 40 yards to the right, 40 yards to the left. Again, the wide zone, there's nothing physical about it. Okay, not what I experienced in DC. It was, we're going to run right, run left, and try to get you out of your gap, because at some point, one of these 4 defensive linemen is going to get out of their gap, is their attitude. And if these guys hold, maybe as you're running and they're running and everybody's running sideways, maybe it's boom, the cutback lane is here. So that's kind of how the wide zone works. Now, you don't block this end, because this quarterback, we're in pistol here, this quarterback, so this is the nose guard, this is the 3 technique, the defensive tackle, these are the 2 ends. This is a typical 4-3. Again, you can do it a million different ways, but the D tackle would go to the strength of the offense, which is to the tight end, which was the Y. He's in the B gap, or called the 3 technique, the nose is in the backside A gap. You can do an under, which puts the nose in the front side A, the 3 technique in the backside A, and puts this guy in a 5. I just drew a typical over defense. You could put this guy in a wide 9, okay, which is an over with a wide tech. All right, you can do a bunch of different things here. You set this end free because these guys are in a pistol, okay? You can put the running back in a shotgun next to him. It's the same thing. Because this quarterback, with his fate of a boot and keeping the ball and doing a pass, should keep this end honest. So you don't have to block the end. What you can actually do a lot of times, all right, so I don't want to show you erasing me all the time, so we might clip that a little bit. But as you're blocking this guy, this guy, this guy, and he's going second level, this end is free. What a lot of college teams will do is they'll do a read option off this with zone blocking. And so this quarterback, you're not blocking the end, he's reading the end. So if the end goes flat, the quarterback will keep it. If the end goes up here, then the quarterback will give it to the running back. From a defensive perspective, depending on if it's a blitz or if you're stunting or what's going on, I was always taught as the end of the defenses we were in, you're going to go flat, you're going to take the back, and then this guy's got the quarterback over the top. Now, even if all that goes well, you still got an athletic quarterback, most likely, in space, one-on-one with the linebacker, which is tough, which is why the read option can be tough to defend. So that's wide zone, that's zone with the read option, which is kind of a wrinkle that Heinrich Haarberg can bring to the table in certain situations, especially short yardage. Because the other thing you can do is you can pull this tackle. So you can do base blocking. So not even zone blocking, just regular base blocking, pull the tackle. Now you've got an extra blocker and you can give the ball to the running back. Like Dylan, probably not going to do read option, although I don't think it'd be a bad idea to throw it in there. Carson Beck ran read option, the Georgia quarterback, late in the game in Austin, in Texas. He kept it and got it down to about the 1 yard line. Georgia ultimately punched it in to seal the game. He's not a running quarterback. Just having that wrinkle's not a bad idea regardless of who's in there, but something you're going to do most of the time, it's not going to necessarily be with Dylan. Now, from a defensive perspective, if they're pulling this tackle, they're gaining an extra gap, so to speak, and an extra blocker. So there's a couple things you can do. You can stay where the end comes down, takes the back. If it's read option and the quarterback keeps it, the will flows over the top. So this is our X receiver, Z receiver, tight end, slot receiver. We went to nickel to match them because they're in 13 personnel, 1 running back. All right, 3 wide receivers, so you bring an extra DB on the field. This could be a Sam linebacker. This strong safety, free safety. This strong safety's kind of in the box. Don't judge my art and dimensions. They're not great. Okay, he could be back here. Now, if you're a penetrating defense, that's what you do. Actually, what I was taught, and it can be challenging if they want you to penetrate and do this as well, whether I was a nose in St. Louis or DC, or at Nebraska, or whether I was an end, we were taught if you're taking on the blocker and you see color flash, pop the block. So technically, this nose would pop over here. This guard, if you're not going to set the end free, sometimes the guard would block back just so the end just doesn't come scot-free if it's not a read option. If it is a read option, you let him go because the quarterback can keep it. If you know you're giving it to the running back, you don't want this guy coming scot-free. So the tackle would block back. And then if I see color cross, my face is an end, I would pop a gap. So you get your gaps back, which isn't easy to do as a defense, just FYI. So there's zone, there's wide zone, there is tackle pull, and the read option versus a predetermined give on some of those things. Now, if you want to talk about an RPO, which is a run pass option, all right, and I went to 4 wides, so 2 slot receivers. Maybe you don't want to take your will linebacker out and you leave him on a receiver because he's one of your best players. So an RPO, you can do it out of a zone, or you can pull the tackle, you can do whatever, but basically you're leaving this end unblocked. So RPO, run pass option, and now this receiver's going to run a route like that. You can call it a deep slant, whatever you want to call it. If they're in man-to-man, that's the best way to beat an RPO because you're on this guy no matter what. But if you're facing a zone team, a team that runs a lot of hook curl, things of that nature, all of a sudden now this quarterback, everybody's block and run. Whether it's zone, I've already described, whether it's man blocking with the tackle pull and you're setting the end free, I've already described all that. Everybody's blocking run up front. The quarterback can give it to the running back and he's looking for that hole on the run play. Or if this will comes in to play the run, because a lot of times on a, let's say it's power, boom, this guy's getting double teamed. Well, that guy's life is a nightmare unless this Mike linebacker comes down. The faster he comes downhill and scrapes over the top, the faster this double team has to come off, and it makes this guy's life easier because if he sits here all day, this double team stays on and now you got a big hole. But if he scrapes down over the top, all right, let's say this guy's running a little in route too, and let's say you're in zone. Okay, so he's got the deep thirds, he's got hook to curl here, he's got hook to curl here, and the running back would be on the other side in this scenario. So now in this zone, if this running back stays here, or the Mike linebacker stays here, you can give it to the running back, and he's hitting that hole, and you got a running play. But if he comes up to help get the double team off here, now boom, he's vacated his zone, and that's where the quarterback's doing the read, and he can hit it to the receiver right there. It puts so much stress on this guy because if he makes the proper read, he almost can't be right. Stay here, run play. Scrape over the top, boom, we're hitting you with the RPO, the pass option and the RPO option. So when you talk about a lot of these things that you can do, it's crazy the amount of options that an offense has and the type of stress that they can put on a defense, which is why so many teams are scoring so many more points now, because this guy almost can't be right if this guy makes the correct read, which is why the quarterback position is even more important than it's ever been, especially in a dual threat type system, which is why I think Heinrich Haarberg could be unique, or if you just, in certain situations, to be clear, okay, Dylan's our starter, or just throwing it in with a wrinkle in Dylan every once in a while just to keep the defense honest. I've already kind of started to describe what power is. So power, you're going to double team the 3 technique. All right, you're going to pull the backside guard. And I know this is getting a little bit messy. He'd be blocking. They're trying to get movement here. Now you can run power out of this. Personally, I would bring a tight end on the field to run power. I'd probably move that guy there. The will comes back in the box, and he's trying to force the end outside. So this 6 technique is head up, technically has the C gap. This guy's going to try to force him outside. So you're knocking the 3 technique in, you're knocking the 6 technique out, you're pulling the guard, and now you've got the guard in a perfect world. Again, this guy's blocking, coming up and hitting this backer. And he's blocking here, and that's your hole in a perfect world. As far as power, that's how you run power. You double, and it depends. Are they in a 3-4? Are they in a 3-3-5? I drew up 4-3. You're gonna double the 3 tech, you're gonna pull the backside guard, the center's gonna block back on the nose, he's gonna seal the inside, so this end cannot just penetrate straight into the backfield on the inside. He's not gonna make it on the outside 99% of the time, but if he gets through the B gap, you got trouble. As a defense, there's different things you can do, and I happen to be, my first ever tackle was against Adrian Peterson my rookie year, and for whatever reason, I was the 3 technique over here, our nose was over here, and I saw this offensive lineman. Offensive linemen are big, and they're trying to move fast, which isn't their forte, not a shot, just fact. They tend to lean whatever way they're going, or even if they're not leaning, they're gonna look like they're gonna give you something. They'd walk up to the line and be like, deuce, deuce, deuce. Well, any idiot can know that's a double team. Or they'd say, Roger, Linda. Oh, it's a pass, you're sliding your pass protection to the right. Linda, oh, you get this pass, you're sliding it to the left. There were so many times I knew whether it was run or pass, and half the time the direction of the play before the ball was ever snapped. Just look at the linemen, watch their eyes, watch which way they lean, listen to their calls. They're gonna tell you a lot. Solo, solo, solo. Probably zone your way, he's got you man on man. So a lot of things that would give it away. So this guard, my first ever game, preseason game versus Minnesota, really heavy in his butt. Like he's leaning way back, like he's about to fall over. I'm like, that dude's pulling. So he pulls, they give it to Adrian. I got in what we call his hip pocket, and I was able to get a tackle for loss. Now, I didn't get a lot on Adrian that day. He's a pretty good back. But there's things you can do as a defense to counter a lot of this. The last 2 things I want to talk about here today are a type of counteraction. So one is a split zone. So zone. All right, everybody's going here like we talked about earlier. Boom, boom, boom. This end's coming free. You can bring this tight end back and kick him out. And you get a huge hole right here, which teams are starting to do a ton of. Teams are even starting to bring guys in motion. So you can do it on the snap of the ball. You can motion him. Penn State has put an offensive lineman, 300 plus pounds at wide receiver, O-line, wide receiver, put him in motion. I watched him versus UCLA go in motion. Oh, he just destroyed that end. I almost felt sorry for the guy. So there's various ways you can run split zone. So zone action this way, set the end free, boom. The end, your job, get underneath. You have to spill. So I don't care if it's 300 pounds. I don't care if it's 250. This guy's coming to try to kick you out to create a hole. You've got to spill or get inside of him and make the play bounce outside to your help. My wife's done a great job editing this video, so you don't have to watch me wiping off the whiteboard. The last thing I want to talk about here is counter. And a lot of times you're going to have this offset tight end again because it allows him to go back the opposite way a lot easier. There's going to be a double team here, at least for a second, before the guard goes second level to the backer. You're going to set the end free because you're going to try to ear hole him with the guard. This guy is going to go try to blow up the linebacker. He's going to steal inside, so this 3 technique can't just run into the backfield. And this guard's going to come and ear hole this end that you've set free, and now you've created a hole and a lead blocker with this tight end. Now, you can block it different ways. There's a million different ways to block this. This is one of the most popular ways to block counter. Kick out with the guard, wall everybody in, boom, lead blocker with the wide tight end. Again, it's on this end. If they set you free, your eyes better be inside. Because again, you got to spill or get inside of this blocker, because if this guard ear holes you and knocks you out, there's a hole. If you can spill and make the play bounce outside, that's where you've got your buddies. That's where you got your help. So that's how the offense does it. That's how the defense would try to counter the counter play, so to speak. But here's the interesting thing. You can turn this into an RPO if you want, ladies and gentlemen. You can turn it into a read option, where maybe you're not even kicking out the end and you're reading the end, and you can give it, or the quarterback can keep it. Or you can turn it into an RPO where instead of the guard kicking out the end, he turns into pass protection, and instead of this wide tight end or this tight end becoming a lead blocker, he goes to the flat, which happens on a lot of 3rd and shorts, 4th and shorts, a lot of short passes into the flat. Now this quarterback can either give it to the running back based on what the end does. If the linebacker gives him the read that he should pass it, he can hit that tight end in the flat. Maybe you've got this guy over the middle based on what the will's doing, based on what the nickel and corner are doing. So you can give it, you can run a counter, you can keep it and run it, you can make it an RPO where it could be a pass on any of those things or a run on any of those things based on what the defense is giving you, or based on what they give you, you can hit the tight end in the flat, you can hit the wide receiver over the middle. There's so many options off of one play. The quarterback, do you give it at the right time? Do you keep it at the right time? Do you run with it at the right time? Do you throw it at the appropriate time to probably some wide open guys if you've read everything else right with the defense? balance. I hope that made sense. I tried to go quick. Stuff like that is fun to me. So as you can see, there's a lot of options. And most teams have some version of all of this. I haven't even talked about the sweep plays that we run from time to time and have success with Ja'Cory Barney sometimes, especially near the goal line. Can you imagine trying to be really good at all this? When I first got to Nebraska, it was power, double team, counter, boom, boom. Trust me, I got double teamed every frickin' day. Then I get to DC, I might see a double team or a power block once a month. It was zone right, zone left, 40 yards right, 40 yards left. Every team has these plays in their playbook, but you can't be good at all of them. You gotta figure out who you are and what you wanna specialize in, ladies and gentlemen. And if you're ever unsure of what to call, you can always just call the All-Star Special. Hey, you know what? You gotta have fun in life, right, ladies and gentlemen? All right, don't knock Waffle House either. Football is this never-ending game of adjustments. It's the most violent chess game on earth. All right, tune in Tuesday, tune in Thursday, and until then, you can always check out the CarrikerChronicles.com, the website. It is where all your Husker sports hopes and dreams will come true. And here are my questions for you fine folks at home. Let me know your answers in the comments below. Number one, why do other people's programs seem to get better, but our program seems to not improve at as quicker rates sometimes? What are your thoughts on that? I'm genuinely curious. Number two, do you think the Huskers can make a noticeable improvement yet this year, or do you think they just are who they are? Number three, I believe Nebraska can improve, but if you agree, what's the biggest area you think they can improve on? Until next time, Husker Nation, go Big Red Nose. Remember to throw the bug.